Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Claus Connect. It's episode 12. We're going to wait for some audience to start getting on here, and then I will do introductions. Hopefully, it's a really fun night. Let us see. It's maybe a slow night tonight. Well, I am Shawn White, Mrs. Claus Vintage, and this is the Claus Connect on the air, and we are happy to be here tonight. Looks like people are starting to get on now. Mary and Bill, hello guys. Thanks for being on here. We appreciate you. We're going to give it just a little bit more. Tonight I'm going to have my bestie, Betsy, the one that's actually in the picture up here, the Tooth Fairy. So this is going to be a really cool show. I'm really looking forward to it. Easy and laid back. I know there was a lot of people that had stuff going on tonight. They'll be watching the recorded episode, which is cool. So, well, with that, I will start because I want to talk with Betsy and make this as long as we can. Hello, John. Thanks for joining us. Tonight's episode's a little bit different. Like I said, it's really laid back, just easy talk, casual. Betsy and I are very close, and we share a lot of the same thoughts and ideas with what we do. So it makes our friendship pretty easy, really, and we each help each other in what we're doing and all the cool stuff in life right now. Hello, Paul. Nice to see you on here. So tonight's episode, actually what I wrote was heartfelt, honest, full of magic that lives in friendship, imagination, and purpose. And hello, Patrick. We love Patrick. And with that, I'm going to invite Betsy to join us. Welcome, Betsy.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Hi,
Thank
Shawn.
you for joining us tonight. I know you've been a busy lady, so I really do appreciate you taking the time out of your life and coming on here for us.
I'm so happy to be here. I can't wait. So relaxed and
yeah, I know. I was like, what am I going to wear? And I'm going to wear something like we would just be sitting around talking is what I was thinking. So
exactly. We're casual all the way.
Yeah. So for those of us who've never met you, can you please introduce yourself?
Hello. If I have not met you, I hope that I do sometime soon. I am Betsy, and I am going into my third season as Mrs. Claus. I also portray Mother Goose, and for the purposes of tonight and a lot of what we're talking about, I portray the Tooth Fairy. I'm located in Dallas, Fort Worth, the Metroplex, and I do events all over the Metroplex. I'm not opposed to driving. I enjoy the quiet time because my life is kind of hectic. I have, two children at home still, and a son who's away at college as well. That's a little bit of me currently in a nutshell.
You are very busy, and they're very into everything, which is wonderful that they do those type of things. Yeah. So, and you're a really good mom. So kudos to you. I witness all this cool stuff you do, and I appreciate that too. Okay, so let's just tell them how we met. I'll let you tell them because it's a lot better than what. Go ahead. I like how you do it.
This is a great story. So I'll go back a little bit to kind of leading up to when I met you. My background is in theater, and I have a degree in theater, but I always wanted to focus on children and children's performance and giving authentic theatrical experiences to kids, because in my view, children, as many people would agree with me, do deserve just as powerful performances that adults get. And so I was on a quest for high quality children's theater programs. And I got my undergrad in acting, and then I moved on and have found a great program at Eastern Michigan University. Even though Sean is in Michigan, that is not
Wow.
I wish we had. But I went there and I studied children's theater for a couple of years and then performed. Fast forward a few years, and my friend and I were on a walk, and she told me that a Santa, I think I've told you this story, I don't know, Sean, but
No.
a Santa actually delivered her new car, and he
Oh.
brought his business card. The car dealership did employ him, and he brought his business card and told her, if you ever need a Santa, it was Christmas in July. He was delivering the car and to use him. And she says, Betsy, you could do this as Mrs. Claus. I said, well, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard, but I kind of like it. So I immediately went on and started researching how to become Mrs. Claus. I found a wonderful article by a woman named Anne Vital, and she is in New York. Mrs. Claus NYC talked about how she went to C.W. Howard and her journey becoming Mrs. Claus. So applied for a scholarship, went across the country to Santa Nana's Holiday University. And then after this is when you come into the picture, because I began watching Tuesday Night Live, and I saw you being interviewed on there by Spangle and Bob and Scott, and you did a wonderful interview, and I was so inspired. Then we went to San Antonio. You happened to be there. I did as well. And I saw you, and I kind of make my own destiny. I went up and I sat right next to your wonderful cousin and my dear friend Melinda and you. And I introduced myself because when you were talking on that show, what I heard was such an aligned kind of mission to what I believe, and that just spoke to me. So I introduced myself. I might have been a little bit much because I was so excited. I heard you said Patrick was on here. Met Patrick and Mike and wonderful people that trip, and connected with you immediately. So that was kind of long origin story, but that is how we connected first.
Yes, and I love that story because, not to be a braggart or whatever, but it actually felt like something's going on here. This is weird. It's like when you meet somebody you fall in love with or something like that. There's like some weird energy, and it was like, okay, we're going with this because it feels right.
It was truly, I felt like meant to be. And I mean, just the fact that you came from Michigan, came down there. We had a wonderful, Cornerstones was a wonderful experience for, I think, everyone there. That first year, we had a wonderful time. And it also, one of the things that I think I learned from that is that you inspired me without even knowing it. You had never met me. And just from your words and how you were focused on authenticity and Mrs. Claus and how much passion you had and willingness to share your story, that touched me without you even knowing it, like 6 months before you even met me. So after meeting you, I went and sent an email to Anne in New York and said, you were part of my journey. You may think I'm crazy a little, but I want you to know that what you said in that article about your experience and what you shared with me. And she wrote back and she was just tickled to death. And, but again, she was kind of like a celebrity the way you were. Now you're my dear friend. But
I know my cousin was like, oh, please. But I do want to mention that, like, right before I met you, I met Mike. And I walked up to Mike because I was sitting there by myself. I don't know where my cousin, and he was standing there. And I don't know. Something told me, go say hi to him. And I did. And then we became friends. And then we sat together. And then you said, and it was just so bizarre how it all works out. But I think it's important in life to look back and see and think about these things that happen and value, why did you feel that way, and really look into why. And
and how different people impact us deeply, and just kind of being conscious with ourselves and always reminding yourself you could be that person for someone else, and you can be that person for children. And I feel like I've learned something, and I know you're the same way. We're eternal students from every single person that we have connected with on this wonderful Christmas journey that we're all connected with. So
Yes,
I
very.
just love that. Yes, and Mike and then Bruce, all of those connections that we made kind of leading up to where we are now and the things that we're working on now. It's wonderful.
And even the ones that when we met at North Pole, like Patrick,
Yes.
I think these are going to be our friends
Yes.
for a lifetime.
Yes.
That's what it feels. Sal's on here. Hello, Sal.
Oh, hi, Sal.
Sal's somebody I met quite a while ago, years, and still friends. And I'm going to be seeing him in August when I go meet with him and Lisa. And these are just part of this community, I guess, is where I'm going with this, that is so special that, we find our people. We do the same things. We all have these creative minds that not everybody understands. So it's nice when we're together to help each other.
Rooting for each other. And you said Sal, and I have to give Sal a shout out as the Tooth Fairy. As I was finding the Tooth Fairy and trying to meet her, Sal gave me so many wonderful ideas about things that he had seen and things he had done. And just like you said, every person that we meet just gives so much. And there's probably a million other people that I could mention right now. But thank you for those connections. And again, it does feel like a community that the people you meet here are people that you're going to be friends with forever.
Yeah. I'm very thankful for that. Looks like Charlie's on here. I've known Charlie. He's he's from Michigan, West Michigan. Hello, Charlie.
Charlie.
Terry is my stay bearded guy. Cheers.
Terry.
He's a good guy. Sal, Wayne, hello. We had, who was it on here from? I think I missed a couple of them. Kane, hello.
Hi, Kane.
From Alabama. And somebody else.
Like your little echo here. It
works. I thought there was somebody else on here. Maybe I missed it. Very awesome. Robert. Oh, from Kentucky. That's where I saw that. Hello, Robert.
I'd love to go to Kentucky. It's beautiful there. I've seen pictures.
I know.
Gorgeous.
Mary says, hi, Betsy. I really learned a lot from the presentation you and Sean did at SFR. Aw.
That's so sweet, Mary. Thank you. And I learned so much from you when you were, I appreciate you.
Yeah,
I remember I loved that episode. I love hearing from different Mrs. Clauses at different stage of life and different parts of their journey. It's just so inspiring. That's why I try to catch as many of these shows as I can.
And Mary had, on a side note, asked me somewhere I read, but I was getting on the show, about my parasol that I used yesterday. This was a totally off the topic for the photo shoot, but it's the smaller one, Mary. And it looked really good. Who would know? You not really using it, but it's just a prop, but not too big as to take up too much in the picture. So I recommend the smaller one. Works.
So cute and it went with the whole aesthetic. I loved that.
I pulled it out and Jeff was like, oh my gosh. Because I was trying to stay vintage with that, and it was, what do you do?
I think that what I thought about when I saw that right away is those little touches that you always do, that a lot of us try to do those little things and we think, oh, no one's going to notice it. It doesn't matter. Children notice that and it just adds to that authenticity. So when I looked at that picture, that's exactly what I thought about.
Thank you. That. Yeah. We went with, might as well just talk about it. I did a photo shoot yesterday with Jeff and he came up from Ohio. So we met halfway in between. At a park, and it's for promos for our venue that we work for, Children's Wonderland. So it's a big deal down there, and we've been working on them for a few years, trying to get them to do marketing. And now they're actually catching on. They want to do marketing. So we couldn't say no. So we took pictures yesterday. We had to come up with an outfit. So this was my first time to do July stuff, and was not going to wear the fur because it's too hot.
No.
So we went with really basic, classic look. And it worked, I think. It worked really well because it felt right. You know how you get in a costume, and it it either does or doesn't.
And
So
like you have that feeling and it affects your character and everything. If you feel like it's right, absolutely. I noticed that adorable brooch that you were wearing, right? The details in that, I loved that.
see, I took that from the winter stuff so that I made sure to have it on the summer stuff.
I love that connection
Yes.
between that's wonderful.
And the other thing, the thing that kind of threw me was what shoes to wear because I wanted to stay vintage, but it's hot. But then my Bruce's famous words about how important your shoes are and you perform in the same shoes, the
Yes.
ritual of it all. I just changed it up and I went with some little Buster Brown type red shoes.
And how did it feel?
It felt good. It
Good.
felt like this is going to be part of this outfit forever. And I had just bought them on a fluke. So
a fluke.
Yeah, that's my official summer outfit now. So I'm good to go. Now I got to, start doing more.
I'm glad you did it. I'm glad you dove in there. I haven't really done that yet. But I look at everybody's things and I think it's great that everybody's doing it. I truly do. I love it.
Well, honestly, I thought it would be awkward.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
No.
Because we had people coming up to us at the park.
Oh.
And children. And we took some pictures and a lot of the adults that wanted to come talk to us. And they were people taking our pictures with my camera, helping us. So those were the adults that went out for a walk through the park, and we ended up, I ended up recruiting them to be my photographer, as I do. But
I think so. They just came across you.
They were hiking. They were hiking.
Do you know how magical that not to bridge everything to the Tooth Fairy, but you really did make me think of a bridge. I was doing my Tooth Fairy photo shoot in the woods with my photographer. She was taking these pictures, and we tried to get back as far, but again, there were children playing all through the woods, and they came in and their eyes lit up. So I'm sure coming across Santa and Mrs. Claus, that moment as an adult, getting to see you and being in the moment.
There's the one that we took the picture in was covered. So we're in there in the shade, and we did some videos just sitting there. But people would walk by and they were peeking in there like, what the? And we would just wave. And they would say, come on in and talk to us. And they were like, oh boy. But they would walk. It was horrible. I'm like, well, you can't say you see this every day.
Do you know, you think about surprises though, and that joy of like waking up and your parents saying, we're going to the movies today and not school, or the joy of that's what you're giving to people, that surprise in goodness knows how the day was, but they saw you. I did a funny reel about someone seeing me who was speeding down the highway right by me, but they saw the Tooth Fairy screech, turned around because they were surprised, and they wanted, and they became children. They were women, but they became children. So I love that walking, not expecting that, peeking in, seeing you. That's just, it's what it's about.
It is, and and honestly, we only saw probably 2-3 children yesterday. The rest were adults, and it felt good. So I don't know. It just shows that we can touch everyone. And we weren't acting like super into character, but we were just there, minding our own business and doing our thing.
Yes.
And I don't know. Well, let's say hello. We've got Jim. Hello from Canada. How cool. Mel from Battle Creek. Hi, Mel.
Mel.
Thanks for joining us. Santa Scott in Buffalo. Hello.
Yeah.
Thanks, you guys. Okay, what else did I have on here that
I didn't look at it, so
I know. I told you I'd do an outline and then we probably wouldn't.
It's go good. By.
Okay, we talked about supporting each other. So we've already hit some of this stuff. Okay, tell me how. Now you'd be the perfect person to give answers for this one. Balancing your busy life as a performer, creator, and dreamer. How do you do this? Because you are super busy.
Yes, I am busy. And I think, going back, thinking about most of the quote jobs that I've had in my life before kids, I was education manager of a youth theater and working in theater. And that is, I can work 80 hours a week and keep going.
Yeah.
And then when I had kids, I wanted a change. I wanted to be there for them. So most of my jobs, I taught pre and postnatal fitness. I did all the things so that I could be there with them. I would teach theater at night. I would perform at night, a couple shows in Fort Worth that wouldn't affect them as I saw it, so that I could, when I was with them, be intentional. And I try to keep that policy when my kids are there. And now that they're teenagers, they're much busier. It's more like that chauffeur situation.
Yeah.
But in terms of balance, I do intentionally take that self-care time. I take that time to focus on me so that I don't just get lost in all the ins and outs of the day-to-day. But I need the creative time, like having the time to talk to you about creative ideas and the planning and that. As creative people, which I think a lot of people, actually probably everyone on here, and as you always say, everyone is creative.
Yeah.
I think that we need time to slow down, dream, create. So I have to set that time apart because my kids' schedules are full force. And then my other job, it also requires quite a bit of creative energy because I'm director of children's ministry at a church. So it's kind of the same side of the brain, coming up with programming and ideas. But this is my passion. And so I make this a priority, even when it's, easy to get lost in life. I try to make sure that I carve out that time. And then in addition to that, this is not my self-care time. This is something I take very seriously in terms of a job and creating the things that we're working on together, and then the things that I work on in my own business. But even though I enjoy it, it still is work, and the work for children and creating wonder and all those things we're creating. But I take separate time to do things like swimming and exercising and making sure I'm taking care of myself so that I can take care of everybody else in my life.
That's a good balance.
Yeah.
I know what I do is prioritize.
Yes.
Okay. But the most fun for me is being creative and working on the season for sure. But it helps to have you and I think, because we do help each other. Like, I know you're busy, I'm busy, but I'll take some of the stuff. We just automatically do things. Like, we know, like I can send out emails for this, or you do that, or whatever it may be.
And we looking at not where gifts are, because we have a lot of the same types of gifts, but we have very different gifts as well.
Yes.
And okay, I can do this, and this is my time this week, and having that support system. And for me, as being an extrovert, needing to talk through, okay, I have this crazy creative idea, which you never think my ideas are crazy. And I'm very thankful to you for that. But having that space now, in terms, I'm glad you read out planning out. I'm not a list maker, but I've had to force myself to be one, put my 5 priorities for the day. It'd be great for me to live in that fairyland and creating fairy worlds and looking at all those things all the time. But I still need to make sure that I am hitting my business goals and things like that too.
Yeah.
So I try to write down. I have 4 lists in my planner. I use a physical planner. I find it much. I don't know, something pen to paper, my age. I don't know, but
I tried not to, but like, this is for my,
yes,
the show is all in here, all the show stuff.
Yes.
So everything has a place for me.
Everything has to have a place. And if my house is chaotic, and by all means, I won't show you because it's a little chaotic right now. I just get back from vacation. But when that's all chaotic too, if I haven't taken the time to work on my environment a little bit, it's hard for me to be creative. So I try to hit those things.
And I know the other thing, as in, we're talking friendship and what we do for each other in friendship.
Yeah.
I get too business and serious with things personally. Like, I work for the airport and do a bunch of really with pilots, all that kind of stuff, real business. But when I almost feel a need, like I got to call Betsy because I need to start pulling that creativity back out of me and chilling out a little bit. And you really help me
You
that.
do the opposite for me. It's like, okay, like you just talked about lists. Okay, that is something. I think we all have that, having that balance with your friends helps, because it, it helps that keep you on track for the things. I'm completely.
And like my friendship with Jeff, he's another very sensible.
Yes.
And he's way nicer than me, probably. I'll just say that to the world because it's the truth. And he would go, yeah, probably. So he keeps me balanced, or whatever you want to call it, like being nice, or he'll make me, okay, I guess you're right. He's very sensible like that. So friendships are good.
They're good and they're positive. That's what I did. Like I know you consider yourself serious. One of the things that you are that I really valued right away was the positivity and the wanting. I know you may not
say bossy or
bossy and positivity are still like they can live together. And you're not bossy. I'm not saying you're bossy, but I'm saying like they can live together. Like both. That's what I have learned about people, is that people are so complex. They don't just fall into one, they're multidimensional. And so when we meet people, there's been so many times that I've walked into a room and I thought, oh, this or me. Everybody makes prejudgments about things, but every single time we're wrong.
Right.
There's so much more to people's journeys and what they've experienced and who they are. They're just not one dimensional. So I love though, kind of finding friends that bring those good things out of you is so important, especially in this community, this community. And it's, and I keep my circle, like I love everybody. I get so much from so many people, but I also just really, really value intentional conversation and deep conversation about creativity and childhood and imaginations. And we can do that forever. So
there's nothing better than, okay, this is something Betsy and I do. We have books we read, lots and lots of books. So yeah, mine are
here. I mean, it's ridiculous.
That one's my favorite. But we'll read the books and we got to get a hold of each other, because I'll say, oh my gosh, I just read this about the brain. And this is so interesting. And then you'll follow up with something, or you'll dig something up deeper to go with that. And then we talk to coordinate.
Yeah.
So we learn. And it's so interesting. So
we can't give up learning. Like most of us, at some point, we're in school and you just get kind of gets, I don't know, it gets, if you're working so hard on getting that degree or different points, it may not have been. So learning for the joy of learning, which is where I'm at right now, learning about things that I'm passionate about. I love that. I love picking the books.
Me too. I try to throw some like fiction or short little books in there just to keep it so I'm not, I don't know.
No, you need to sweat. Yeah. You have to also, again, it's about the balance of things. It's true.
So I need to show our shirts we wore tonight. This really wasn't planned. Mine is this.
I love that shirt so much.
I was just feeling sassy, and I don't know why. I don't know. Oh, this leads us into this subject. So guess what I added to my resume this weekend?
I know a little bit about this, but please, I want you to share with everybody, because this has been one of my goals for you.
You're going to be pulled into this, We're going to be traveling and doing this. So this Mrs. Claus Vintage is now has now judged a beard contest and man body, or dad body, bod and beard contest was my job. One of 3 judges, and I did my job, and it was fun. It was fun.
I love this so much.
I never ever thought I would do something like this. So.
But is there anyone better than Mrs. Claus to judge a beard competition? There's no one better.
So
You
I
just
hope
don't know what's going to come.
I hope both of us are going to be walking on a stage someday and sit down and we'll be judging the or something. I don't know. I just see this as a lot of fun.
I love just that you like you never know like what opportunities are going to come up from doing this. And I think that everybody has said, wow, after becoming a Christmas performer, I ended up in a place I never thought I would.
And that leads us to all the different kinds of things you can do. You never ever know. I mean, I have house set for a very, very nice house for someone because I was Mrs. Claus. She wants, and I've done this for years. Like, you never know where these things are going to lead to.
You don't know who you're going to meet through the work that we do, who you're going to impact, and those opportunities. And I'm someone, maybe it's because of the poster my mom put on my wall as a child, but it was say yes to everything. And they created this mess. But in all seriousness, I truly believe that, try everything. Some things won't be your cup of tea, but trying things, you just never know what's going to come next.
And it seems like it just opens up more doors.
Doors.
And it's from making friendships with people that these things are coming through. I mean, the lady with the house I had lunch with one time, I met her in orientation at a college for my daughter. And then she followed me on Facebook and saw this crazy that I do. And then she wanted Mrs. Claus to be there for her kitty cats. Okay. So I do videos and stuff, and it's just been a blast. And she's a friend, and I do appreciate her very much. And I don't know, but there's probably so many more things that people
haven't thought of. And I've seen like on threads, I see different things like what can Mrs. Claus do? And I saw some great ideas on those. And I kind of say, what can she not do? And I think having I'm not paired with one Santa. I'm paired with many Santas, as are you.
Yep.
But having that freedom to just go in there and try things and being independent and jumping into it has been the biggest gift. And I love working with Santas. I love doing solo events, but just all of the opportunities that we get. Yes. I'm not someone who would sit here and say there's a certain thing that's my cup of tea, because all events and all people are my cup of tea. I just like new things. I like to try new things. I would get bored if I did the same thing.
Same here.
So, having.
I don't say no either. And that's like, gets me into all these things that I, don't say no to. So why not? Right? Why?
It's so true. I mean, we have the best opportunity to connect with others, to be with children, to make a difference in this wonderful treasured position. So,
and as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, I think part of the key to this is networking in your community and just everybody that you see. Be kind, be nice, be nice person, and things like this start helping.
It does.
It works out. I mean, look at TikTok. I've made, like, I don't know, 3-4 people right now that I've reached out to. That's the other thing. I just reach out and suggest things.
Yes.
If it comes to my brain, I don't know if there's no filter on me, but I'll just say, what do you think about this, to whoever it may be? And it seems to work out.
No harm comes, honestly, if you take a shot and someone, I'm not scared of no's at all. I'm just really not. And I think that's what being an actor does to you, because I do a million auditions and I'm told no a million times. So it doesn't, and you as well, being in theater, it does that. But, I've had a lot of luck lately, especially on Facebook, going onto the messenger and taking a business and just sending them a message. Hey, wouldn't the Tooth Fairy be great at blah, blah, blah event? I study them. I do a lot of studying. It's not haphazard, but taking those shots and those opportunities takes 2 seconds to Facebook message and they're writing me back. So that's really fun. Just
And we really never stop thinking about where we might fit ever. It's like a warped, like, I don't know, that it never stops, and marketing never stops in my brain. There's not a place I go that I'm not. I was in a mob museum in Vegas last week, and I was telling the guy that's handing me a gun to do these things, I'm Mrs. Claus. I didn't even hold back on that. I'm sure he thought he was the one that was judging me. And boy, by the time I walked out of there and simulations and all this stuff, I was rocked his world with a whole different concept of Mrs. Claus, probably. But so,
yes.
no.
I think people light up when they hear, and they don't know necessarily it's a thing. I didn't know this whole world. I think most of us agree with that before I was into it. But people just light up because we are serving children. We're serving them as well, but we're serving children. And that's who we keep at the core. And so people, oh, that sounds so much fun. And they're kind of, a couple people have said, oh, I wish I had. I'm like, it's not too late.
Yeah, right.
Partially why I chose Mrs. Claus to do, because I thought I can do this forever.
Yeah. And I knew it fit with me, I knew, because I had asked myself, I've said this before on podcasts and things, when I was on, and you've heard me, the stage, curtain was down, all the students around me, I don't know what musical it was, but 9 to 5, it was 9 to 5. And they were actually behaving, and the curtain was, nobody was screwing around. We were all ready to go. And it was a moment, and I thought, it might have been one of the last shows, and I was like, I love these kids, and I love standing here acting with these students right now, and how am I going to continue this? Because my kids were graduating and things were changing, and and I didn't know. I went away with that question, and then when this whole Miss Claus thing came up, it dawned on me, oh my goodness, that's my answer. I can continue this. Kids will look at me like they did when I was on stage. Same thing.
Yes.
So I don't know.
It gives us that opportunity. And like you said, it gives you year-round opportunities to do what you do now, having a chance to have these discussions about how do we serve children best? How do we do those things? I was really drawn to Mrs. Claus because I loved the movies like you did growing up, but I was very curious about her, and I love character development, and I love just digging in, and I wanted to know more about her, and watching the faces of girls, especially also boys, when and the questions that they are asking, and how magical it is to sit there and be part of that in that moment with them, creating that story based on the questions that they're asking. I'm very big on, and maybe it's because I'm an improv actor and I'm on a murder mystery troupe and all of these things. I am very, very big on backstory and preparation and all of those things. I'm also big on pauses, being in the moment with children, letting children lead the way. That is my mantra, is let them lead. And so being strong in my character, but I think sometimes people, before they jump into this, they're so worried about getting all the answers right, all the facts right. And that's, as long as you are in there being authentic, you have all the tools that you need to perform, if you will. Be there with the child.
And I agree with you. If you know your character, authentic character, and we can go deeper into that. And in my class in Branson, I hope to talk about this. But like you're saying, if you know your character, you can hold back.
Yes.
Because you're not so worried to go up, to talk above the child or whatever. You're not so worried about getting all that out. You can hold back and let the child lead.
It. And that's exactly what you do so well. And waiting, and we're all scared of pauses. I'm scared of pauses. I like to fill them with noise. Right. But in this calling, it is not about us. It is about the children. It is about honoring their questions and their pauses. And also, I have flipped the script a little bit through my work as the Tooth Fairy. Children are the experts in the room. And I have a puppet which serves as the puppet does not know as much about tooth cleaning as the children. And so the children, we go with the facts that they know, and children are the experts. And so if you walk into the room knowing that you are with people that are the experts, it changes your performance when it's less about me, it's more about
I like that.
keeping the children at my core.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, that's kind of what I have come to find that, and it comes from process drama, which is what we learned about a lot in my theater program, but it's putting children in that role. It's called mantle of the expert. It's a technical word, but at its very simplest core is that you're switching roles with children.
Wow.
Letting
Wow.
them be.
That is so good.
Yeah.
Wow. Real quick, I want to say, Don, yes, Mrs. Claus for cats, or house sitting. Mrs. Claus vintage house sitting is what I've told. I've stayed at some other places through this kind of thing, and it works for me personally because I like to travel. So, hello, Mike. I think we said a proper hello to Mike. We love
Hi,
Mike.
Mike.
Okay, we're going to take a little bit of a break because we went way over the time, which I'm not surprised. So,
Big surprise.
I know. Angela, if you could run that, please. Or she left. I don't know.
She got bored.
Wow, we went way over, but I'm not even surprised at all. The next thing I was wanting to talk about is, we kind of did a little bit, why we do what we do. What I wrote down here was kindness, creativity, challenging ourselves. So that is something that we've talked about, self-improvement, right?
Yes.
How do you explain challenging yourself to gain from that? Can you explain that, what I'm talking about?
So, like, when you're speaking about, are you talking about just the constant need to grow and constant need to, like, this is a never ending journey. There are always books to read. There are a million on my bookshelf of Santa or Mrs. Claus, but constantly just learning from those on the shows like this one, but also learning in community, like the beard community. We have sat in on a few of the Zooms for the beard community, which have been wonderful.
Yes.
I never thought that I was someone who was going to be so interested in beard care, but what I got from this is, if you're passionate about something, really, really, really focusing on the details. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's, anything, but put your all into it. Don't do it halfway. Put your all into it.
And it was nice to step into that community. And they love us, I think.
So
we love them.
Encouraging and warm.
Yeah, they're enjoyable to listen to their stories and how they describe things. It's so creative. And
it's so creative, and that's not something that I would have known, as someone who's never had to worry about beard care. But there's always something you can learn from other communities. Like, I go to my public library all the time. They offer a random programming, and I have it somewhere here. I don't know if I have it, but I went and we learned to make like tiny books, and I had such joy slowing
yeah,
down for that time. And then, the next day I'm going more learning about gardening. And then I can take some of those things that I learn and integrate them into Mrs. Claus. I believe Mrs. Claus does have more of a green thumb than myself. So I try to take that and add that to my character as well. So,
right. And I think that when I really know I'm challenging myself is like this year in Mamma Mia, when I've said this 100 times, when I was on stage and we were having to dance and twirl and, do all this stuff. And I thought, oh my gosh, I cannot do this,
yeah.
but I have to. I don't have a choice. I'm standing on the stage right now. I must figure this out.
Yes.
So I did end up doing that. I
And
ended
you
up
got confidence.
in my challenge with
Yes.
my partner that I never had met before, and we had to be a team with all the other people on the stage that I did not know. So by doing that, when you take that over into life,
Yes.
and when I have to step in front of 100 people and do something that, I don't know, just something, read a book or something, when I've already been through these other challenges, it makes it easier to deal with and do, right?
If you can put yourself in those hard places,
Yes.
that is exactly what you're talking about, is that growth that you get, and seeing you didn't die. I tell my 16-year-old that all the time. I'm going to die if I try this, but no, I need you to try hard things. Like, she's going to go to debate camp next week, and that's going to be very much a big thing for this particular individual. But putting her, and she's agreed to do it. I'm so proud of her. Putting yourself in situations which are not necessarily things that you're good at. I love to try things that I was horrible at making those tiny books. Mine turned out pages on the wrong, but I learned from doing it. And you see that that's how you gain that confidence in yourself, getting into situations and getting out of your head. Don't listen to those voices that tell you you're going to mess up, you're going to fail, because you're not going to fail. If you earn, every experience you do is going to help you with.
The other times that I do this are, and not so much now because I've challenged myself enough a lot with that, is like when I'm in a meeting and there's 20 something men pilots and it's me and I have something to say and I can feel the butterflies a little bit, but I just do it. I say what I need to say.
And we need to be
that kind of
confident.
Stuff.
Like you have, and not to get too much into it, but a lot of times it's not easy to be the person in the room that you feel like you're not part of that majority group. And so having that confidence in what you say has value, and not getting in your head and talking yourself out of it, there's no value in that. And that's also what we're doing when we're talking to children, is listening to. We just have to listen to them. Listen to them. What they say has a value. And so,
yeah. Somebody told me it's not about us.
No,
it's not about us.
Mm-mm.
The kids, and it's not about the fancy this or that. The children are just seeing Santa and Mrs. Claus and an elf or whatever. And it's the magic and how they're feeling and all that type of stuff. It's not about us.
Children want to be focused on. They love when you look in their eyes and are down on their level and you're in that moment with them, which so many of the Santas and Mrs. Clauses that I have watched do this so well. Children want that space more than anything, because we live in a very distracted world right now. And they want that time with you. They want to be heard. From an adult who does that and creates that magic for them.
And the other part of the magic that we create that we might not realize is the examples we set. And I know that you and I are doing that as
Yeah.
the Tooth Fairy Mrs. Claus. That's a whole new
I'm excited about that chapter.
that we're doing. Yeah.
And I
But
think it's, like Bruce has talked about, showing those worlds with Phineas,
Right.
with the Tooth Fairy, that these things can, and what we're doing separately with showing positive female relationships between the Tooth Fairy and Mrs. Claus, it's just, there's
Right.
nothing more magical than that.
And for the couples, I mean, example would be, and I don't know if we just talked about this, but actually I was just talking to Jeff. When I'm sitting at the venue gets at least 3,000 children. I keep saying kids, children a day. So it's really busy. I'm sitting by myself, and he'll go on. He's down a photographer doing stuff with the children. He'll walk down to see me, but I won't know when. So I'll be sitting with the children, talking with them seriously. The parents are all standing around. And when Santa Claus, he just walks up and just kind of stands over and doesn't say anything. And he watches the interactions with me and the children. And he's behind them, so they don't see him. But the parents are all going, oh. And then, I'll either reach my arm up and he'll touch my hand, or I'll say, "Oh, Santa," and then and he gently walks over to me, and we set the example to the children. It's
And
so
how your body language and how you interact without saying anything, like a real couple, like
a real
like,
couple.
and that's
he might say, "How you doing, Mrs. Claus?" And that's all he'll say. And the parents are like tears in their eyes, and they're just seeing this whole thing. And he just stands there. It's so sweet. It's the coolest thing ever. But it just shows that we have such an impact that we can create these things. And you need to pay attention, because if you've never worked with somebody, you need to be acting. You need to get over it and act and make it work.
It's so true. Like, I feel like I rarely get to work. Now, maybe between seasons, I'll get to work with somebody again. I never know where I'm going to be a lot of times, or who I'm going to be working with. And so we have a few minutes. And luckily now I'm getting to know many of the Santas in my community, but it really is important to try to connect beforehand if you can. We don't always have that luxury.
Right.
But try to at least, and I'm not worried about getting facts straight so much that we can cover. You can cover it, okay? Everybody can. What needs to be covered, though, more is that relationship.
This is important, Betsy.
Communication, like how do you communicate with Mrs. Claus? How do I communicate with you? Those type of things, because we are creating this beautiful thing together, this theater for them together.
And that is more important. I don't believe I've heard this before.
And how you treat each other, and it's both ways. It's not just if it's from.
And you can whisper, and like, I'll hold your arm, or however you're going to walk in. You figure all that out.
Yes.
And don't be afraid to grab their arm and just walk in. It's fine.
Yes, it's totally fine. I have so many Santas who have been wonderfully intentional about these things, and so many of them have been doing this way longer than me, and they have a wealth of experience with this and we review that beforehand. So I love.
Yeah. Okay, let's answer some questions here. Okay, Don's cats would hide. No, they wouldn't, because Mrs. Claus, cats love Mrs. Claus. And I bring gifts too, so that's always helpful. Okay, Jimmer says, ladies, I do not come from a performer background, so when I hear performance, it gives me anxiety. But listening to you two talk about making the children the focus and purpose is really it helps me, because while I'm not a performer, I'm a really good grandpa. Okay, so you help me realize that I can be myself and still bring the magic. That's our point.
That's it.
That's the authentic you.
Everything you have in being a grandfather, and that interaction and that place as actors, a lot of things that we go from are those experiences and bringing back to those places. So you have everything that you need. And actually, some of the best Santas I work with are not actors, to be honest. And I've worked with a lot of them. I work on the train with certain types of Santas, and I work on, so please know that you have everything.
You have the magic. You just need to have it be Santa.
Yeah.
Wayne says you can't learn unless you fail. But you don't always fail on these challenges either.
And don't be scared of the failure. And sometimes it goes really well, and sometimes you're like, oh, that didn't go as expected. But you're right. I feel like in the things that I consider that I'm sure you agree with me that I've failed at are the things, again, that the learning has come from.
But do we always fail, or we just in our minds don't do like we thought we would do? Like when I was dancing Mamma Mia, I wasn't a good dancer, but I was doing the best I could. So to me, I did okay. I did the best I could, and I took the challenge.
And my not failure thing, because it was a beautiful thing in Cornerstones, coming out as the Tooth Fairy for the first time in front of a bunch of Santas and having that. But listen, I hadn't spent the amount of time that I've spent now at really, after going through Mike Phineas's classes, and I do a lot of this, but actually diving in hardcore to the world of the Tooth Fairy. And this isn't just going to be a fun time. This is going to be a multi-leveled learning about her. But so not that failure, because I wouldn't say it was a failure, but I'll say it's something that kind of pushed me in the direction of doing more and giving more to children. So I love failure.
Well, from our stage, the thing that we did, performance, the four of us, I think we all learned probably a lot. I learned, I was intimidated.
Yeah.
Bruce, you guys have a lot more experience and you're trained, I'm just, community player here, what kind of stuff.
And my concern was about the fact, and I will say this on here, and it's going to be forever in YouTube, or wherever this goes. But I'll say it and I'll own it. I knew that there would be some perception beforehand about the Tooth Fairy entering into the world. And Bruce, Santa Bruce, and Mike, and you. We knew that these are worlds that exist together. We knew it. Yeah. But we also knew that before people have to have, there might have been some outside preconceptions of that. And so having to walk into a room filled with Santas as the Tooth Fairy, which is something that was, totally different. So yes, people are like, you never get scared, all my friends, you'll do anything. But no, that's not accurate for anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. It was probably interesting just to watch the four of us prepare to go on as we were sitting in the closet room or whatever that was, the hallway, thinking, you could tell we were all just deep into what this was all about.
And looking at a world where we can sit there and take the art of what we do, which I consider the most important thing, inspiring wonder, creativity, magic for children, the privilege that we have to do that. You want to do it right. And I think that's why some of us put such pressure on ourselves to be, quote, perfect, because we know that we're doing it for the most important audience. But I have never once had an audience of children not go with me. And that's what I'll say to anybody who's nervous.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. That's some good advice. Let's look over here.
Yeah.
Terry says trial and learn. Good point.
True.
Patrick's agreeing with it. Tell me about it. And then Patrick said, listening is the key. Remember my opening at MPC last January. Yeah.
Patrick, Patrick, I can't say enough about that and what you did and in the whole way that you presented and your words and how much, I could have written a book about that and what I got from it.
And that's why we love him so much and we just kind of absorbed him into us. Like we're all, friends, because
we met Patrick the first time at NPC when he sat right behind me. I don't know if you remember Patrick, but I apparently was kind of obsessed with a lot of people there, but he was amazing the first time Patrick performed. And then this year he came back and did a wonder. I learned so much from your presentation.
I got to be his Vanna White too for his
You
class. So
that's typecasting, right?
It was fun. And I learned a ton for sure. It was very, very well done. Very well done. Okay, what does Sal? He says it's about the kids, not the ego of the performer. The goal is to portray the character to the best of your ability so the child believes. Right on. Right on.
So true, Sal.
Don says plant the seed of curiosity. Curiosity is what in Gatlinburg, a Santa came up to me and said the word curiosity. And I think it's a very important word that we need to keep. And the tree of knowledge will grow. At least that's what I believe.
I think you're right.
Mike says, yes, it's the children and families and the memory and moments can create, for sure. Don says, none of us just stood up and walked. First we crawled, but we did learn, although we fell. True.
I think I didn't know enough to be scared my first season either. I just literally walked in and just started doing it. So that's what I'm saying. Get out of your head. But you're right. It's like stages yes. of things.
Mike says, I can appreciate that Betsy walking out as Phineas at MPC in 2024 was one of the most nerve-wracking events in my life. Really? I couldn't tell.
Mike is an excellent actor, and I know him.
I must be something wrong with me because I wasn't nervous, but I just knew something big was happening. It felt like
it was exciting. It was, I think, just because it was the start of something. Sometimes there's something very special.
Yeah,
you just have to go with it and know that it's okay. It's not perfect.
It was a moment for sure.
And let go of our egos, just knowing it's not about our egos. It's not about how we look. You know what? If they all laugh at us, there'll be another conference in the future. It's all okay. And actually, and this is what I'm going to say, everybody is on your team there. We had a wonderful reception.
Right. But it's always the hardest in front of your peers. Anything you do when you're in front of a group of peers. And that's what we couldn't have, even though nobody was like, bad, but
no.
Patrick says we have made him smile out loud. That's fabulous.
Sweet.
At North Pole Cornerstones, a lot of new friendships are made for sure, Sal. It was a good thing. Yeah, that was fun. Let's see what else we have on here. Inspiring others to build love from all these friendship and not competition. Competition is evil and awful and hurts people as far as I'm concerned.
I truly, there is a place, like they say on all these shows, and it is true. There is a place for all of us.
Yeah.
There's so much work out there for everybody. There's so many children who need, and so not sitting in a space of negativity or being in your head about other people and what they're doing. We just need to focus on what we can give to the world.
And I think my recommendation is if you start feeling like you're headed down that route, refocus. Yeah. Focus on why you're really doing it, the children and your character, and refocus and turn yourself inward and do what you need to do, not any of that.
Find a positive person too, like what Sean is for me, to remind you of who you are, what you're doing, how unique each one of us is. There's not two that are the same. And share the work with the people around you. I mean, give opportunities to those. People have given me so many. I have been so blessed by opportunities. And so I work very hard to provide those opportunities when they come up with others.
And that's part of, I felt like what I was learning at the beginning of this journey was to keep my secret.
Yeah.
And by the people that were around me. And it like I've said before, it's not the case. The moment I started sharing on Worldwide Santa, when I started talking, because I really was up and down about, should I do this? Everybody's, it was hard. But once I started sharing the scrapbook and all these things that I do personally that have worked, we don't need to reinvent the wheel here if we can help each other. It just like opened up the whole world, and I was able to learn more and so many wonderful things.
Because we're trying to, if we truly believe it is not about us, if we truly live it is about Christmas and the children and the wonder, if that is our mission, it's a unified mission as a community, and we must support each other within that. You don't have to be best friends with every single person that you meet, but you must support them. I learned that at Tinker Garden, this outdoor play-based nature program that I would lead for years, because the founder, who was remarkable and understood children, she was big on us going to other leaders' classes. And, Santas can't sit there, obviously, at other people, but there's other ways to encourage other people.
Definitely. Okay, we've got some questions. Sal said, Betsy was awesome as the Tooth Fairy. The Santa Claus movies introduced the Tooth Fairy into Christmas, and you can take your character to new levels.
Thank you, Sal.
Then, okay, Mary wants to know who you based your Mrs. C portrayal on.
I base my Mrs. C on a lot. It's similar to what Sean talks about with her grandmother. I have a very different type of grandmother than what Sean has described to me, but I also have based a lot of mine on a combination. My two grandmothers were very different people, but combined, they make up my Mrs. C.
Wow,
and so
I like that.
My one grandmother baked. We had all the special Christmas cookies. Every year we were just doing the gingerbread houses and all of that. The other grandmother that I had, my mama, was a go-getter. She was out and about, lots of energy, wonderful sense of humor. And so I base my Mrs. Claus on both of those. And the physical way that I had to struggle, to find my look, but I went to a thrift store first and I still use this. And when I say thrift store, this was a theater thrift store, Mrs. Claus dress that was used in a production. I got my Mrs. Claus, it was pretty traditional Mrs. Claus dress from there, but I did not put big money into my look because I knew as an actor it would take time to find her. And It would take at least a season and talking to children to develop her. And so that's kind of my answer for where it came from. Two very special people in my life.
So with that, tell us about how we talk about when you first, for the people that are just starting, what is our advice about getting caught up into spending money and all that type of stuff?
Just don't. I feel very strongly that it takes time, and the best trainers are the children. Now, I do believe that children when I say thrift store, I just want to kind of correct that. It was a theater supply thrift store, a very new looking dress. I believe they deserve you to look good, you to look authentically the part. However, I don't think you need to spend all of the money in the beginning to do it. Really find your character. And then my current dress that I spent a lot of time, and I did have a seamstress made going into my second season when I really, really had established my character. That's when I did that. I didn't do it right away.
So I personally, and I've thought a lot about this from everything I've heard, and I think you should look like a Mrs. Claus.
Yeah.
I think to go too far away from that's not fair to the children. It's confusing.
Right.
So a hodgepodge of patterns, and even though it's Christmassy, I think you still need to have a certain similarity to
that tradition and the familiarity. And I can connect with that a lot with the Tooth Fairy, because for some reason that pink dress that I wear, it triggers it for children. They say you are like, they will walk in and see me, and that is immediately established as the Tooth Fairy. They believe that based on a costume that's pretty traditional, but it was my childhood image of what the Tooth Fairy, and I felt that's what they deserve. So my Mother Goose costume, again, is a similar type of thing. I went from something that this is the color that I picture Mother Goose in. This is why, and I have a whole thing behind why I choose to do it. But I am very much with you in terms of making sure that it is a traditional view of Mrs. Claus.
I think that just like with Santa, it makes a stronger community, and for the professionals, if there's a common thread with the
Yes.
look, it doesn't have
Yes.
to all, of course, we're all going to have our individual
Oh,
this
yes.
and that, but for both Santa, for all.
And
How
I'm sure that there are people, who would say otherwise. I also feel strongly that there's a lot of unpredictable in the world, and having something that is traditional and predictable and that children can look at and really connect with as that character. It starts with that. It starts with your boots. I mean, I put a lot of thought in those things. I took Sean's scrapbook idea for the Tooth
Yeah.
Fairy. I'm putting in those details, those things to make it real.
Yeah.
But it starts with it starts with knowing your character, doing that reading, and then putting those touches to support that image that you have of Mrs. Claus.
And the other thing is, it helps us build, as speaking for Mrs. Claus, for our history.
Yes.
How in the world are they going to get it together if everything's so different?
When I came into this, I just felt like I could find some things to go with, but it was, and I went to this, I learned a lot, so much from the people, but I'm excited about the future for Mrs. Claus.
Yeah.
I'm excited about where we are now. And I think that's why I thought she needs more of a background story, because I was seeing all types of things around. So.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Because I do want a future for Mrs. Claus, and I would like it to start with all of us.
Yes.
It's pretty deep stuff here. But let's see. Was there any more questions? We've got. I think we got them all. It's 2 on there, and we answered Mary's. So, okay. Take away truth that keeps you going. Okay, what keeps you going in all this? What keeps you going? Big question.
I think there's a couple of things that have happened each season. We all have those moments with either a child. For me, last season, I was at a garden store, and there was a 20-year-old woman, but she had some severe special needs, and she came in and she sat with me, and her parents said she just wanted to come meet you, and she sat with me for an hour, crying, shaking, touching my face, touching my hair, and she loves Mrs. Claus more than anything. And so moments, I know we can all pick out those moments. I also think what keeps me going is just a world where my motto for my company is where childhood takes center stage. I think we need to fight for childhood. I truly think that we need to preserve it. We need to honor it. The world is moving very, very fast. I won't get into discussions about AI or any of those things, because I don't focus. My focus truly is on the children and continuing to create places where they can use their imagination, where they can use their creativity. And I am just a tool in that. It is not about Betsy. It is about children and children being able to access those parts of the brain that, like when Sean has them close their eyes and smell the Christmas cookies. And I do a lot of this. That's probably not what you say, but it's an example. But where we can activate those senses in a world that is not always activating them or honoring them. So, that's kind of what keeps me going, is that desire. When I was young, my mom said, I remember overhearing my mom talking to somebody else and said, and I was not young, I was probably in high school, she said, Betsy's very childlike. And I don't mean childish, I mean childlike, like she meant it as a compliment. And that is the best compliment that I could ever get.
That. I love that, because you never want to lose that, ever.
No, it's a very hard world. And I mean, we can't go further without acknowledging this weekend has been tragic here in Texas. We have many people from Texas who will watch this, and it's been a hard weekend, and children have been affected and families have been affected. And so just continuing even in moments that are sad or tragic and things like that, and keeping focused on keeping that good in the world and focusing on the children.
And that kind of goes with why I keep going is for moments that you're talking to children and you've been told on the side that this child has some issues. She needs a little extra. And maybe you don't know what the story is, with the stuff that's happened in Texas, you don't know who it's going to affect that you might even see this year. So to take that child and not say a word about anything, but do something special and give them some special moments. That's what keeps me going. Because I know when I see 3,000 children a day, there's going to be bunches of them that need just a little bit of love and magic and listening. And that's what I would do it until I'd probably fall over of exhaustion of the 10-hour days. But I keep going because I can't stop, because there's a reason we do this, and there's a reason we work all year and work so hard to bring it to the children. So let's go to the questions here. We did that. Mary says, Betsy, what's your favorite venue for Mrs. C?
Hey, I love, oh my goodness, let me think. And not to go to the negative, when I say that, I'm saying this year I took a change. I decided to do the North Pole Express in Grapevine, and I had a lot of good moments and things, but it was very long days. It was very hard work, and it was more like a stage show. I was acting and singing and dancing. I think I really this season am putting a lot of focus on nursing homes where I can go and talk about Christmas memories and take my girls and do those things, as well as I love garden centers. I've done lots of different big corporate things like that. I love anywhere where I can sit in a corner with a child and be in that space and give them those artifacts to touch. So I am someone who needs different things every day. I need change. And I need to also focus a lot on self-care. I'm glad I did the train. I don't regret it at all. I think it was a wonderful experience in many ways, but I had very, very long days starting at 12 and ending at 11 at night.
I did not know how you did that.
I just in the morning and no voice, and it was just a lot. But I am thankful for everything that I learned on there. So that's a long roundabout answer, Mary. I'm so sorry. It's a good question, but I love anything where I do love preschool events. I mean, I think everyone knows that kind of from seeing me do the puppetry. I love preschoolers so dearly. And so anything where I can be with, there is a school that I'm connected with, the school nurse, and I go in and I do Mrs. Claus. I give out cookies and milk with Mrs. Claus, and they're similar to the venue that Sean, in terms of the kids, just needing that time. I love that one too. I can keep going forever. I love everywhere I go.
I like the big events. I like these. Yeah. Parades would be nice. I haven't did a parade in a while. So that's something that's kind of on my radar right now.
Yeah. I've gone back and forth with that just because I've done so many, and I just love the intentional time right there with children in that space. So I'm doing as Mother Goose, or no, it's the Tooth Fairy. I'm sorry. I'm going to be doing a farmer's market performance with the stage in the fall in October. So I'm super excited about that.
That's going to be cool. Yeah. Well, the thing up here is it'll be snowing. So I've got fur on and a fur blanket, and my hands are in fur, and Santa's next to me, and it's blizzardy out and we're waving. It's so out of a movie or something. So
that's like a Hallmark movie.
It is. It's freezing cold, but and you got to wear the old wig and all that stuff because it destroys everything. But you're just all snuggled into this, and it's a horse carriage is what I used to be, a horse, drawn carriage and
Being in a
everything in the
I think you
snowstorm.
talked about, like, on the first show I heard you on, you were talking about this experience in there, and I just felt like it was
It
beautiful.
was like the whole time, it's like you can't even believe I'm here. I can't believe
Magic.
this. And people are coming out of their houses because it's snowing, so and to wave to you, and it was just unbelievable. I did it for a few years, so maybe who knows what'll happen. But I'm hoping to get one of those back.
I hope you'd. The other thing I was going to say, Mary, I just thought of it while Sean was talking too. I like, there's Santas on here, but I'll be honest, I did a big country club in last season. I've done it for a couple seasons. And I walk in and I said, oh, is this where we're going to be, Santa? And he's like, no, you're going to be in there. He wasn't the most friendly. I won't name locations. You're going to be in there. And so like, okay. But I spent 4 hours and I got to be in this going table to table with children, really fancy event. And I got to kind of get away. I wasn't just sitting. I like anything where I can interact. Now, I will do the role of sitting there and helping Santa and support Santa as much. I'm not opposed to that, but I kind of like to be let loose. And I think my feisty grandmother would.
It sounds like it. That reminds when I did Cracker Barrel, and it was by myself. I didn't even have a Santa, and I was just whatever I wanted to do, and I walked around, and then they were like the Pied Piper, and they all just kind of followed me to the big hot fireplace I got to sit in front of and not melt, and read books to all these children, and it was so beautiful.
I love when you can, again, there's a preschool like up kind of by me, but it's become the thing to get Mrs. Claus in this one area, and they only want Mrs. Claus. They don't want Santa.
Wow.
And so it's really neat just kind of how now places are looking more at Mrs. Claus and the opportunities within that. And you have to, sometimes you can introduce it. And say, I can see where she could fit in here, all the marketing stuff we do.
If you see it out there, you just go after it. It's not going to come to you. You go after it.
Yes.
For instance, real quick, the Jackson School of the Arts, I've told you this, a few years ago, I kept driving by it and I'm like, that's the most creative place in this town. Why am I not there? So I figured out who worked there that I might know and sent her a thing, and I went in and interviewed and got the job. And so this will be my 3rd year this year. And they're also doing stuff for me at the airport because they know I love them and I will do things for them. So, it all works, and we're all there for children.
And when you talked about the art school, I then went for an art school because I was inspired by Sean. So I expect everyone out there to go for art schools now. But the art school that I went to was the most creative, artistic preschool, and they were about this. They were about this magic and wonder. And then I called them. The other thing, follow-ups are so, so important. And so I just actually 2 weeks ago, I reached back out and I said, I came last year as Mother Goose. Would you? Oh, yeah, we're going to call. And so that continual follow-up and keeping.
And it might not happen at first. I mean, you got to keep working them. Keep working it. And whoever that might know somebody that works there, that kind of stuff is always helpful too. I knew a director, and then my friend knew a teacher. So we got both of them, and then we made it happen. So
there's a tea house. I went and had tea with my mom there, and I thought, oh, I need to be here. It felt like Mother Goose. It just really did. And so I reached out to her via email, and then she wrote me back, and they were worried about how much, and we went back and forth. I sold it kind of like what we did at the last conference, but it works.
Usually I'm more or less like, oh no, don't say anything. Don't say anything when I go into somewhere. It's like, I'm going to be so busy. I won't be able to see straight.
Yes.
So you just got to do it. With these people that need the jobs, just think about it and see where you fit.
Once they have you one time, they will have you back. That's the other thing is just, you got it. I know it's hard to get through the door, by getting the libraries, all of those places.
And sometimes you have to do it for free to get your foot in the door. Make a deal with them. Try it out. do something else out of season and then come in for the season or something.
Or tell them you'll do half your rate and pay the rest in scones, which they did. They paid me in scones, and I'm obsessed with scones. And yes, I did put that into my contract. So.
Wow. I haven't heard that one before.
Oh, but it was good. They were so good.
I think Ken in Ohio did for donuts or some deal at a donut place. He made them or something at one point, which was funny. And the good thing about a bakery is at the end of the day, they have all the leftovers they can't resell. So they sent me home with boxes a couple Christmases ago, and I didn't even bake for Christmas because why? I had all this stuff from the bakery.
That's so special.
Okay, Ernie says, here in the North, we have called 2025 the year of Mrs. Claus, the New England Santa Society. Thank you, ladies. That is awesome.
Ernie. Hi, Ernie. I know Ernie.
I think we might be going to the East at some point soon, hopefully, too. So hopefully we'll meet up. I think that is all we had for that. Let me go to this real quick. Okay, one more question. This is the last question. What you hope others remember about their own Claus heartbeat?
Oh,
that's a deep one.
I hope that they remember to trust themselves and that to continue to listen to that heartbeat and continue to, that always, if you go from your heart, you can't go wrong. And all of this research and stuff that we do is important and all is, but we're all in this because we love kindness. We love children. I'm huge on kindness with not only my own children, but the children that and I heard recently on one of the threads, they were talking about instead of the focus on good list, naughty list, all of that, just the focus on asking children, what things have you done that are kind this week, or things that maybe nobody saw that having children kind of define those moments so that they can look for them in themselves, because you're not always going to be with them. So giving them that power to think about it. So trust yourself and that heartbeat that we have. And once you don't have that heartbeat anymore and you feel like you're getting close to burning out, because with the hours that we work, it is best to kind of hang it up at least temporarily. It's worth too much. Yeah. The children are worth too much to give them anything less than what you can give.
That's beautiful. I will add that when a parent comes up to me and says they were naughty, they should be on the naughty list, I pretty much ignore the parents from that point on, and I look at the child. Usually it's about a 9-year-old boy.
Yeah.
And always. And I look down at him, and he'll look up at me, and you can tell the whole everything. And I say to him, I know that you have a kind heart.
Yes.
And it is full of the Christmas spirit. Yes. And that's how I just ignore and take it back to telling him that I love him and that, Santa loves him.
Yes.
And you can tell he relaxes every time. That's what happens. And the parents don't even know what to say, because I just totally took it away and made it a positive. So
make it a positive. We do not shame children.
No.
We are always team children, and that's beautiful. And it's a beautiful way to turn. And I like how you do that in terms of not shaming the parents, because as a parent, and you're a parent, and we know we have such sensitivity to how it feels to be that worn out mom. That's exhausted, and you're kind of at your wit's end with little Johnny and some of his antics and the things that he's pulled, but you're not shaming them,
And in the long run, no matter what happens today or tomorrow with him being on the naughty list with his parents, in the long run, I want him to possibly remember my words to him deep down. She said, I had a kind heart.
Yeah.
And not remember I was on the naughty list. I'm hoping that things like that, the words we say are very important.
Words are important.
I guess that's where I would go with this Claus heartbeat, is to remember that. And these little souls that are coming up to us for just a little glimmer of magic for their season, some of us really need that. Some of those children really need that. So I think that is why we're here. We,
Don't
some
assume.
reason,
Yeah.
we were given that magic personally. Each one of us that are on this show right now, something told us to do this. So, we
Yes.
need to think about that and go with it. And I'm really happy that people listen to that voice and do what they're doing.
Yes.
But keep
That's
educating yourself, keep watching these shows, keep going to classes. You can never get enough education. Read books, talk to each other, um, and appreciate the community. And I do, that we have. So
It is about community. It's about creating community amongst children, amongst families, amongst your immediate city, which is where I went to some chamber things I said, Betsy, you're doing a lot of things in Dallas. You're doing a lot of things in Fort Worth. And let's try to bring it back a little bit and try to serve a little bit more here in Keller. And, but yeah, having those opportunities it's just such a privileged position that we all have.
we could talk all night.
We
And maybe we should do another class or something.
Yeah.
We have so much. I think that part of the magic is we're able to have people just think and come
Yes.
up with their own answers, is what I want to happen. And I'm sure you do too. We're not here to tell you how to act or how to be, but to help you find what is best and what works.
Yeah, and I won't debate people on anything, like in terms of if you think like anything that is different, from what your approach, like there are people that have tons of ideas, like we're just one idea.
Right.
And I think that finding people, like the people who come to these shows who just strive to learn and to grow, that's what it's about. And I am a very different person than I was my first season, just from the wonderful impact of those around me in the community and the children.
And I can't help but think the people that don't do this and don't go to schools or anything, that's the difference between professional and not, as far as I'm concerned. It really is.
The professionals invest. You invest in yourself. You invest in, this is important, what you're doing. You are worth it. And so what better place is there to put my finances and, more importantly, my time? It's about time. You don't have to be rich to do this. You just have to have the heart, and you have to have the time and the desire. Those things, that's what it's about. And there are so many free resources online, and I don't think it's one, honestly, I don't think it's one. Some people just stick with one type of education resource online. I think it's important for you to get pieces from all of it.
Yeah, I agree.
And different types of people. Like I go to Santa classes, I go to Mrs. Claus. And that's part of with Sean and I working with Mike and Bruce on projects too, is that we believe in the community united. We love Mrs. Claus and doing what we do here, but it's important for all of us to work together.
And to help everyone. Yes, that's why we're here.
Yeah.
So with those wonderful, wise words you just gave us, I'm going to end the show, and I'm going to go into thanking Angela, our wonderful producer. She is so amazing. And I'm not kidding when I say this. I did it for a year without a producer, and it was really hard. So I learned, and I appreciate her. And thank you, Angela. You're the best.
You said also, like this weekend when you didn't have a tech person, like just it brings up. We were like, Angela,
I needed it. Yeah,
she's so wonderful and behind the scenes, and those are the real MVPs in my view. Are the people who do their job, work hard at it, do it well, and have. Are not sitting there. Like we get a lot of kudos as Clauses. We're in front of
right.
No, but you look at the people who make it run, like the Angelas. I just could talk forever about her.
I know she's a huge support, and I will be taking this gal to dinner and drinks or whatever, and taking care of her. I promise. I keep telling her that one of these days I'm going to get her. Yes. So thank you for that. I want to say thank you to all our viewers in the Claus community. everybody that was on here tonight. We really appreciate you. And we appreciate your questions. And Mary, there can never be enough questions. Please, when you're on here, just ask them. And might take us a bit because we talk a lot, but we'll get to them. And we do appreciate it. And the whole Claus community and the bearded community, because Terry's on here and I appreciate him. And anybody else, there might be some more actually on here. And let's see. So with that, I'm going, and one more thing, TNL Network Productions. I should thank them because of everything they do, and Bob and Scott and Spangle and the whole bunch of them. You guys are the best for doing so much work and everything you do for us. We appreciate that. So with that, my last words are what I will say at the end of every show, and this will end our show tonight. Thank you, Betsy. Before I go into this, I love you and I appreciate you and everything you do for others. Everything we do is for the children, the ones before us, beside us, and beyond us. So with that,